From the University of Toronto.
I'm Beth Coleman.
I'm Rahul Krishnan.
This is What Now AI.
The New York Times has filed a lawsuit in federal court against Microsoft and ChatGPT maker OpenAI.
When the demos of Sora went online, there were a lot of people, especially in Hollywood, who really had sort of a panic about it.
Movies, music, writing. Did I leave anything out?
Video games?
Video games. Absolutely video games. So anything that has like aspects of digital production to it now emergingly has aspects of AI kind of built into kind of production. And it both opens things up for new avenues of creativity, and it also opens things up for new avenues of lawsuits.
That's right.
We've got an amazing lineup of guests for today's episode.
Nick Frosst is a co-founder of Cohere, a Toronto-based startup that develops large language models for enterprise use. Frosst did his undergraduate degree in computer science and cognitive science at the University of Toronto and was the first employee of Geoffrey Hinton's Google Brain Lab in Toronto. He is the singer in an indie rock band called Good Kid.
Sanja Fidler is an associate professor of mathematics and computational sciences at U of T and co-founded the Vector Institute. She's the vice president of AI research at Nvidia, a technology company that designs and manufactures graphic processing units and drives advances in AI, high-performance computing, gaming, and creative design, autonomous vehicles, and robotics. And Bloomberg News has called NVIDIA's chips the workhorse for training AI models.
Actually, the work on 3D content creation was inspired by me joining NVIDIA. So I joined in May 2018, and they didn't really tell me what to do. So it was kind of me to decide. And I joined this organization or sub-organization at NVIDIA that was working on Omniverse. So Omniverse is this real-time rendering and simulation platform that basically allows users to connect different existing 3D modeling tools and then work collaboratively on creating 3D worlds. So you can almost think of it as like a super advanced 3D Google Doc or something where multiple people can edit together. And so basically like rendering and simulation was real time. Everything looked amazing, photoreal. Those were the early days when NVIDIA really made huge advances on this front. But content was the bottleneck, right? So we felt that AI could really make a difference on this front.
Was that driven primarily by, an interest in pushing out these ideas for gaming, or were there other applications that you had in mind even in 2018?
Yeah, Omniverse was early stage, but it was always meant for different domains, right? Gaming is potentially one. Robotics is a huge one. Jensen loves simulation for robotics, AV, but also humanoid robotics and so on. There's obviously other spaces as well. Engineering needs digital twins to simulate, right? Architecture. So not primarily, I would say, gaming. There's a lot of really important domains for 3D content. Now, for example, like at the time, I was kind of inspired by gaming as well. So if you look at high-end games, I don't know, Grand Theft Auto is a good example, right? That requires so much content and so much software to be written. I think I looked at the Wikipedia, actually, it was 1,000 people over several years. Replicating Los Angeles, writing storyboards and the entire game, right? So it's really just these very large studios that can afford this kind of production. But there are a lot of creatives out there, right? So the thinking was, if we can democratize this AI, if we can really bring AI in the loop in creating this content, we could unlock a lot more creatives to actually work on creating games and similar kind of content, movies as well. For robotics, especially for humanoid robotics and autonomous driving, which is also where my interest kind of lies, actually like simulation or let's say rendering this content is not just a nice to have. is actually a critical to have. Because you need to, at the very least, do testing of your robots before deployment. So there is not so much about creativity, but about reproducing the real world and doing it at scale. And you just simply do not have enough artists to reproduce Earth and everything that can happen in it with artists. AI is absolutely critical in that domain.
So really, if the piece where AI is super useful is in accelerating this process. So rather than having computer graphic artists, painfully stitch together these models of entire cities, you can accelerate that process by either having the artist say, I want to use these building blocks in order to create some frame or a sequence, and then fine tune it according to what the specific need actually is. Is that like one of the ways that you've used AI in this space?
Yeah, there's different use cases, right? So 3D what is a virtual world, right? Virtual world has different aspects. One is scene, buildings, road, traffic lights, right? Then there's objects, moving objects in the scene, and that can be anything from cars, trucks, humans, animals, garbage bags, right? There's a huge variety. And then there is the behavior and animation. So behavior, how is the car gonna drive? How is a human gonna walk in the scene? And animation would be how the motion that the characters are producing or the dogs that are walking needs to also look realistic. And the AI, what it can do here is different things. So for example, for robotics, we really want to make a digital replica. Imagine something happened on the road. You want to kind of have that exact scenario reproduced. So you can use something like reconstruction method to collect videos, and then from that you go into a simulation environment. So AI is doing all the digital twinning, if you will. For gaming or even actually for AV, you do want to generate that as well. So generative power, right? I want to write some text and then start doing some sort of advanced editing of both the objects, maybe scenes, but then also animation, what the characters are going to be doing. So AI would really be kind of assisting this kind of creation, digital twin and simulation process.
A digital twin is a virtual representation of a physical object, system, or process. It's created using real-time data from sensors, machinery, or other sources to mimic the physical counterpart. It is a bridge between the physical and digital world.
So when you talk to artists who are using some of these tools, do you find that there are aspects of AI that they like and that they find helps their creative process, and do you find that there's aspects that they like less? And where in the spectrum of creativity does AI really help?
Yeah, so I think when artists see just these methods like text to X, right? Text to image, text to video, I feel that they have pushback because now there's only text that allows you to control the content. Yeah, I do see this model just as foundation models. You go in the internet, and text and video and images is the data that is widely available. And those are the models that you can train. And then from those models, you can actually create, or fine tune them, like you were saying, into models that are more amenable to creatives, that gives you more adaptability, creative power, so on. So right now, I would say we are very early stage in developing this technology. So it's really, not to be judged by just text to X. I think artists do want to have this iterative creative control. They have some idea in their head, right? Previously, they had all these tools that allow them to go from that idea into the final product. We want to do the same thing with AI as well. And these tools are kind of early on. The quality is just simply not at the level that an artist would produce. So sometimes they would, either completely retexture it or just take the inspiration from what the AI generated and completely redo it. So it's more like, hey, it's giving me some ideas about what to produce. We do have an artist on our research team, actually, So that's super useful because she's kind of making us honest and focus on developing the right kind of tools.
When you think about working with artists and the artists on your team, there might be a range of reactions to using automated tools for generations. Some might feel very protective about the creative IP that they're generating through their own art, and they might not want to have it be part of a training data set. Versus others might be much more open about it and happy to have it be used widely because it broadens the reach of the artistic content that they create. I'm curious about, how you think about where the ethical considerations come in when developing this kind of AI technology.
Yeah. I mean, these are super important topics. There are basically two major considerations. What you're mentioning is consideration around what goes into the model, right? Training data. And then there's also consideration about what's coming out of the model. So you also want to have guardrails around, the outputs of the model. So actually, like even before joining NVIDIA, this was probably 2016, 2017, in the U of T lab, we had long discussions around the training data. So we kind of anticipated that data will be hugely important and a problem to solve at the same time. So we actually wanted to create a marketplace for machine learning data where people would upload, possibly annotate, and then get compensated for the data in some sort of a revenue sharing business model. It turned out that was super hard, especially if you're an academic in university. So that would be super awesome if someone can create. I do want to say that like both U of T and NVIDIA labs are research labs. So we are not necessarily focused on creating technology that makes any penny, right? It's all about creating or chasing the art of the possible.
So what do you like about co-creating with AI?
It's super experimental. Like I didn't know what I was going to get. And I like it. There's just discovery.
Have you played around with those tools where you can create cartoons in the style of Picasso?
I have, and I have to say, it's my least favorite version of any of the Gen AI stuff. So something that's come up with creatives and AI, and particularly artists, is they don't want their work just ripped off. So just making something in a style of, and so when like the fake Drake, the AI Drake track came out, and one of the things that was difficult for people is it was a really good track. I mean, what kind of things did Nick say in your conversation?
Well, Nick uses LLMs to get a sense of how his audience might react to some of the work that he does, but he fiercely believes that he should be the one creating it.
Sorry, baby, I just don't know the words or how to conjugate down. Was it really past tense? I heard, or was it present perfect?
How did you guys all meet and form this band? And that answer is all in undergrad at U of T.
On the one side, you do music and are part of this band that goes on tours. On the other side, you also head up Cohere, which is an LLM company based out of Toronto.
They scratch similar parts of my brain. I mean, I find something like very satisfying about working on a song and finding issues with the structure or issues with the lyrics and like thinking about the whole piece together and, sometimes dropping it completely and coming back with a new idea. Like I find that process satisfying in the same way that working on a new research idea, or these days I spend a lot of time just like building stuff with LLMs.
Yep.
So, coming up with a new demo idea or something and working through the issues there, I find those very satisfying and satisfying in a similar way.
So do you use one and the other? So, you talked about building demos with LLMs. When you write lyrics for your songs, do you like ask the LLMs that you have in-house about what might be interesting to write about?
No, people always ask that. I don't do that.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I'm not really looking to write lyrics faster. I'm not really looking to optimize my artistic expression. It's kind of the process that I like. That's kind of part of the fun of it. So I don't really want to say like, how can I write a new Good Kid song and be less involved? I kind of want to be more involved.
Like a hand reaching for a handle, but to find that it was never there. Tenderly
What I do now, however, is after I've written lyrics, I often give them to our model and say, like, analyze this, or tell me what, like, write a paragraph describing what the lyrics mean to you or something.
Yeah.
And I do that as a way of testing, like, are my metaphors or analogies like too subtle, or are they too obvious, or are they too, so sometimes I'll be like, oh, I really want there to be this, I really want these lyrics to kind of bring about this theme.
Yeah.
And if the model doesn't pick up on the theme, then I'll be like, okay, maybe it's only me who's seeing that in there. Maybe I should like add in a few more lines or a few more images to bring that out.
So it's sort of an iterative process to think about the content that you create independently, but at the same time want to reflect on with the help of like an external entity.
Yeah. I think a lot of the times we especially these days seem to take as a given that like everything has to be optimized, that everything needs to be done as effectively or as fast as possible, and that somehow that optimization is just inevitable. But that's really not the way things happen a lot of the times. Like there's lots of things that we as a civilization are not trying to do faster.
And the flip side of this might be that there's an entire industry around music where revenue is a big part of that. And there might be content creators who are interested in using LLMs for various artistic purposes. If you think about the idea that Taylor Swift comes to a town and the entire town's economy changes for the weekend that she's here, there's clearly like a notion of a degree of connection and how to optimize for that that's happening within the music business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, music is a business. There's a whole economy around it. But there too, like I think it seems to be increasingly these days, the way we interact with art is by connecting with the person who made it. Like I think about this a lot. Like last year, Oppenheimer was one of the biggest movies. And we didn't go see Oppenheimer. We went to see Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. Like connecting with the director who did it was a huge component of why people were interested in going to see that movie. The same is true with Taylor Swift. Like Taylor Swift is is the biggest star we've seen in a very long time, and connecting with her story and who she is as a person is one of the reasons why people really enjoy the music and her performance. So I imagine machine learning and neural nets will impact the way we do art in the same way that all other technologies, in the same way that all musical technologies have. But I don't think we're going to get to a point where we suddenly are not interested in the artist behind making the art. Like art exists mostly to allow you to connect with the artist. And there are some artistic expressions that will be best achieved through automation. Like there are some really, I've worked on a few art projects where we automated some parts and that was part of the art. But it's still not removing the artist. It's still not, moving to a world where all art is just pumped out of a computer. And when you listen to it, you can appreciate only it and not it through the lens of who made it. So yeah, I don't think we're getting there.
Right. So in the context of, the ensuring that art has this human perspective, I think one of the concerns, at least that's been raised online, is ownership and creation of music as data. I'm curious about how you think of it, since you wear both hats, as someone who is embedded into the generative modeling technology world as well as an artist himself.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting question. I'll start with a little bit of background on this. It's my band's music is all DMCA free. So Good Kids music, if you want to use it for anything, you can. You can put it in a YouTube video. You can put it in Twitch. You can put it wherever. You could use it in. Yeah, and wherever you want, and you wouldn't need to pay us. So that decision, we're kind of trading we're trading short-term profits for a longer-term fan base.
Yep.
Now that's a position of privilege for a band to be in, right? Not a lot of musicians are in the state where they can say, hey, I'm going to trade some royalties this year for more people to listen to. So I know that's not a luxury that everybody has, but that was a thing that was successful for the band. So I don't, like that works because there's attribution. So like when people listen to us, in a YouTube video and they like it, they're like, oh, hey, who made that YouTube video? It made that music, then they go find us. That wouldn't work in like, a bunch of music gets put into a neural net. Now somebody listens to it and they say, oh, that song's great. And the neural net made it and they never find out about the act. Yeah. So there's definitely the parallels kind of break there.
If we were to ask the LLM to, create tokens that represented music, it might create things that lie at the convex hull of things that other people have created, which is both new insofar as it's not been created by a human before, but is also in some sense inspired by things that humans have created. Like, is this thing just a convex combination of things that have existed before? And is that, do you construe that as art, is really my question to you.
When we train neural networks, we take a big data set, we then optimize a bunch of parameters in a neural network to be able to accurately represent the statistics of that data set. We then sample from the data set. Sampling from the data set is just a mechanistic process that can be understood through the statistics of the original data set. To me, I think that's a very different process than what happens when a person is making art. I've seen our model and other models create some things that I thought were very beautiful. And I have occasionally been moved by the stuff that I have seen neural nets create. I've thought they're really cool. I enjoy it in a very different way than when I see a person do that. When a person does that, I feel seen, right? Like when an artist does something that moves you, part of the experience is being like, damn, they're sharing what I'm going through. They're sharing the experience. And it's, it makes you feel connected and seen as a person. Yeah. Which is arguably what we want most of the time. That's really one of the things we're all after, is just to be seen and understand that you're sharing the human experience with other people. I think when you guys asked me to come in and talk about this, I was thinking a little bit what the conversation might be like. A central thesis is to remind people that we make and enjoy art to connect with the person making it. We don't just passively consume art the way we consume, rice. We want to know who made it, and that's what is mostly what's enjoyable about it. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I personally think food is a form of art.
It can be. Yeah, no, I chose rice as I shouldn't have said.
I'm just messing with you.
There's some delicious rice I've had that I have been moved by how good it is. And
how will writers, like journalists, adapt to the challenges and benefits of artificial intelligence?
2024 is going to be a pivotal year for the use of AI in journalism. The reason is that we've got the technology, everyone's curious about it, and there's a lot of enthusiasm for how it might work and solve journalistic problems. The reason that I'm skeptical about it is that AI cannot report independently. It can't go walk down the street and see what kind of day it is or talk to people about their lives. And so it doesn't replace the fundamental work of journalism, which is research. All of us know that good writing or good podcasting or good broadcasting comes from having really good, reliable sources. And AI loves to fib stuff. It loves to gloss over holes in research. It's literally designed to do that because at heart, it's not a content creation tool, it's a writing program, and it's jazzy. So we'll see how that plays out, but each newsroom that I know of is currently working out those ethical standards in its own way right now, in real time.
Sorry, baby, I'm drifting again. Could you repeat the question? No, I guess I do not know when it first became a problem. Sorry that it's all such a mess. The words, they seem to leave me.
Goodbye.